It's 3:30 in the morning, and I just had a PTSD flashback in the middle of a complex PTSD episode, we'll say, and now I can't sleep. The PTSD flashback was really easy to deal with, actually. So I had a 5-minute grand mal seizure this past summer. It came out of nowhere, developed epilepsy. No one seems to care why I developed epilepsy. We're just like, you have epilepsy now. But that episode was very traumatic. I fainted in my house. It was probably a first seizure. And then got a concussion, and my father-in-law drove all the way to our house and zipped me off to urgent care. I threw up 3 times on the way there. They had to wheel me in, and everything faded to black when I got in the entrance. And then I had this 5-minute grand mal seizure in emergency, which my husband witnessed. And so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the episode. I was in the hospital for, I think, a couple days. There was one day I was pretty much passed out, and then they had to run tests and stuff, and then they sent us home. So that was the episode. Ooh. I had flashbacks to every vivid memory of that event. And that I was able to process laying in my bed. And I was able to take a deep breath in with love and compassion into that memory. And then I was able to take a deep breath out, releasing it to the universe. And then I would move to the next consecutive moment and I would release it. And then I would tell myself, I'm safe. It's been 7 months. I can drive now. I'm medicated. I have a neurologist. And I was able to bring myself back to the present moment. So dealing with the PTSD was rather simple. What I wasn't prepared for was the complex PTSD that surrounded it. It was like the soup that this was plunked into. I am deconstructing from evangelical Mennonite religion, and I was steeped in it, and I'm a very spiritual person, so I was in it. And what surrounds this seizure episode is the major part of my deconstruction, the realization that Jesus is just a man. When I grew up in the 90s and had a full-on spiritual love affair with what I thought was the Holy Spirit and Jesus. And so all of that was coming undone at that time. And something in me kind of just broke. Sometimes deconstruction looks like a broken heart. You genuinely fell in love with a Jewish man named Jesus from a different century. And now it's all coming together that he's just a Jewish man from another century. And something in your head kind of breaks and snaps. And I do think that that's part of what brought on the seizure. So that was swirling in my head. Did my own deconstruction do this to my body? Questions around that, just that feeling of anxiety around deconstructing and knowing that that's not really fully resolved. And it's not an event. So there isn't a thing to say like, this is done, this is over now, you're safe now. What I found myself doing in my sleep was rationalizing my atheism, trying to make it okay. For example, I'm always seeking truth with a compassionate, open, surrendered hand. I'm like, that's truth, it's love, it's compassion, it's surrender. These are qualities that God looks for. And I'm doing this like in a lucid dream. I'm theologizing my atheism. That's why I couldn't go back to sleep. I played through the whole seizure scenario in this fashion with the lucid dream of theologizing, because my very last thought, while my head was pounding and they were wheeling me in and I was holding in, everything was fading to black, my very last thought before I seized was, there is no God to cry out to. And then everything went black. And so the complex religious trauma PTSD is the part that's really hard to process. With the PTSD episode, I was able to say, this was an event. It had a start, it had a finish. and that event is not happening right now. So I can put myself back in the present time and I can release the event. With complex PTSD, like this religious trauma, there wasn't a one-time event. It was my whole life long of indoctrination. And it was done by loving people who were not trying to hurt me. There's no villain. There is no one-time event. And there is no one that had malintent. And those people are still in my life. So what do you do with that? How do you heal from that? It's things like this. It's talk therapy. It's internal family systems therapy. I'm not there yet. I'm still actively dealing with this. I'm making this video to bring up the topic of complex PTSD. And complex PTSD can be from a lot of things. But the reason I need to talk about these things is because I'm an addict in recovery. And I can't just stuff these things down. My substance of choice is food. And I know some people laugh at that, but it's a very real addiction. And when I'm food sober, other things creep in to try and numb so I don't have to think. And some of those things might be shopping. Some of those things might be just a new hobby. Some of them are my social media channel has taken that place. I had to get rid of a bunch. When I'm numbing, I'm missing life entirely. And I don't want to miss my life now because of the complex PTSD of my past. So the only way to get over that is to go through it again and again. With the PTSD, it's easy to identify the episode as it's happening. It's a flashback. With the complex PTSD, you get the same energy of a flashback, but you're confused about it. So here's an example of a religious PTSD episode that I had. We were decorating the Christmas tree, and my husband had put on this amazing Christmas carol rock concert with it's done by a bunch of professional Christian musicians like David Crowder and stuff. And there's orchestras and it's like rock music with TSO level lighting, and it's incredible. And the music is breathtaking. And so we got this on our speakers, and it's really loud and it sounds amazing, and we're decorating the tree. And then all of a sudden, I don't know which song it was. I think it was Oh Holy Night. Oh Holy Night goes on, and I feel myself just getting really irritated, and I'm snapping at the kids, and I'm kind of closing off. And then it gets to the part where there's the key change. Fall on your knees, right? And I see my husband stop decorating the tree, and he looks at the screen, and I start having a full-blown panic attack, which I've never had in my life. And I go sit on my bed, and I'm doing breathing exercises, and I'm sweating, and I'm shaking, and I don't even know what's going on. I later figured out that this was a PTSD episode. What I didn't understand at the time is that my body was having a physiological response to the worship music because I'm a spiritual being. And when I was a Christian, I was a deeply passionate, sincere worshiper. Hands up, praying in tongues, all of it, none of it for show. I would do that in my closet in the dark. It was sincere worship from my heart. And so when I hear those worship songs, they invoke this physiological response that I was programmed to have. And those PTSD episodes can hit, and I don't realize that that's what's going on because it's so complex. And so how do you talk yourself down from that one? Because it's not an event that happened and is over now. It's a process that is continual. And are you ever really healed from that? Or is that just a continual trigger that you just learn to become more aware of? I don't really know the answers yet. I've only been in therapy for a few months. But I just wanted to talk this out and bring it to the surface. And not everyone's complex PTSD is religious. I was hoping that this example can help people understand that they might have complex PTSD. If you have trouble sleeping through the night, even if you're not having the dreams, but you're just stressed, if you're having a lot of emotions that are tied to childhood memories, if you're feeling powerless, like there's a lot of symptoms, if you actually look up the list of PTSD symptoms and apply it to something stressful that has been an ongoing issue in your life, you might have complex PTSD. It's worth a look, especially if you're in recovery. Especially if you're in recovery. One day at a time, one step at a time. When it comes to my food recovery, I have had a lot of what we call fourth meals, and I label them emotional endurance meals. As someone in food addict recovery, I eat 3 times a day. The times that I eat are bound, and the goal of that is to create automaticity, so there's no real cognition going into like, what am I going to eat? What's going to hit the spot? None of that. It's like I write my food down the night before. I eat only in exactly that the next day. But when I'm in these PTSD flare-ups, what's difficult to understand is that my brain is working so hard that it's exhausted, and I don't have the mental bandwidth to be resisting hunger, to do the mind work and call someone, call my guide, my sponsor, something like that, and process through it. I don't have that bandwidth. And so I add an emotional endurance meal, 2 components of food. I've been doing that a lot lately. My weight is above my goal weight range, and that's okay, because one step at a time. And in order to stay sober, I have to do this work. And in order to stay sober, I need to have the extra meal in there, because if I don't, I'm going to break my sobriety and binge. So we do what we need to do. We give ourselves the self-care that we need in order to stay sober, in order to stay healthy. And we take moments like this. I'm up at 3 a.m. I'm going to give myself grace tomorrow. If I had plans, I would cancel them. And I've done that many times, where I've had plans and then had to call someone and said, hey, we're going to have to cancel that meeting. We're going to have to cancel that get together. We're going to have to cancel that event. I've been up since 2 a.m. and I'm going to be napping in the afternoon. And that is part of recovery as well. Setting those boundaries, knowing your limits, not drinking coffee and energy drinks through the stuff, but just giving your body the compassion it needs. I hope some of this has been helpful for someone else. This has been helpful for me because I'm a verbal learner and a verbal processor. So this is more effective for me than journaling. It's probably one of the reasons I have a YouTube channel, let's be honest. So thank you for listening, because that's helpful to me. And if you are dealing with complex PTSD, just know I'm sending you a lot of love. If you're dealing with PTSD, I'm sending you a lot of love too. And if you're not, I'm sending you a lot of love too.